This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
This is absolute tosh.
Well, let's get back to it.
The Houston area in Texas was under threat of worsening flood conditions today, a day after heavy storms slammed into the region. The authorities warned those in low-lying areas to evacuate ahead of an expected catastrophic surge of water, the likes of which haven't been seen since Noah built an ark. This is the weather watch. A flood watch remained in effect through Sunday. Sunday? When is this from? Well, this must be last weekend. Can't be. Sunday? Maybe Saturday. Anyway, it's very, very wet in Houston. Another excellent reason not to go there. Forecasters predicted additional rainfall, bringing another 3 inches of water to the soaked region and the likelihood of major flooding. The predicted surge in water was described as catastrophic, with several hundred structures under risk of flooding. Drenching rains in Texas and parts of Louisiana filled reservoirs and saturated the ground. Floodwaters submerged cars and waters reached to the roofs of some houses. More than 11 inches of rain fell in one day.
What?
Yeah. Meanwhile, the U.S. National Hurricane Center forecasters were predicting it's going to be one of the most active hurricane seasons on record as in ever. Earlier in April, the Colorado State University issued its Atlantic hurricane forecast with a prediction of 23 named storms, 11 hurricanes and 5 major hurricanes. The average hurricane season between 1991 and 2020 comprised of roughly 14 tropical storms, 7 hurricanes and 3 major hurricanes. So it's about doubled in the last year or so. Double what it used to be just a few decades ago, and it's all thanks to global warming.
Thank you.
Unless you don't believe in science, of course, or are pretending not to believe in science because you're taking money from the fossil fuel industry, in which case please disregard everything you hear, see and feel. The above-average season forecast has been attributed partly to the very high sea surface temperatures, providing plenty of fuel for any potential storm to develop. Meanwhile, in East Asia, they are grappling with record-breaking heat waves as sweltering 48 centigrade temperatures leave schools shut, crops damaged, and residents warned to stay indoors. The heat in Myanmar hit 48.2 centigrade, the highest ever measured. 48,000 schools in the Philippines have also been shut for the entire week. 48,000 schools, not school children, schools. Officials have urged citizens not to go outside. Don't go outside.
Warning, warning.
Don't go outside. Wow. That's how hot it is there. Don't go outside. Vietnamese agriculture has taken a massive hit, with the country's coffee crops being impacted due to the drought.
Oh, no.
Coffee? It's already £4 a cup. In several areas of Thailand, including Bangkok, temperatures have skyrocketed past 40 degrees centigrade. 30 individuals have died from heat stroke in Thailand this year alone. 37 were killed in the whole of last year. 30 have died so far this year. In other inconvenient news, hurricanes are becoming so strong due to the climate crisis that classification of them should be expanded to include a Category 6 storm. The scale only goes up to 5 at the minute. Climate change is turning it up to 6.
Rock and roll!
A Category 6 strength would include all hurricanes with sustained winds of 192 mile an hour or more. Blimey. Such mega hurricanes are becoming more likely due to global heating, due to the warming of oceans and the atmosphere. Michael Wiener, his actual name and not just something rude I made up. He's a scientist at the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory in the US. He said that a 192 mile an hour wind is probably faster than most Ferraris. Being caught in that sort of hurricane would be bad, he said. Very bad. And that's not good. The weather is outside. I advise you don't go out. Ben says, these are text and tweets from last night, a lot of very upset and agitated people. Ben says a portion of people probably don't vote because they don't believe it makes any difference. Oh, God, not this again. Oh, I don't want to vote, they're all the same. Stop saying that. They're not all the same, and it does make a difference. Do you recall the NHS 14 years ago? People were complaining that the appointments with their GPs were coming around too soon.
What?
Yes, I am not making that up. Videos of people complaining to Tony Blair, who was Prime Minister at the time, that they couldn't make a GP's appointment for 2 weeks hence. The GP will see them immediately. And they were complaining about that. Fast forward to today, where you can't see a GP at all. It does make a difference, Ben. Tom says you're being very unfair to Costly Suit Rack. He's been very clear about the plan. It has a handful of waffly priorities, the country's priorities no less, and objectives are the same thing as a plan to achieve them. You just need to believe harder.
We have a plan. Plan. Or you just go back to square one.
Let's go back to square one. That sounds like a super idea. Can we do it straight away? Dan says, did you see a woman in Somerset looked up the Electoral Commission's website where she had to vote? When she got to the place to vote, she found the building had been demolished 3 years ago. The building had been demolished 3 years ago.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Do you think this is part of Rishi Sunak's plan? Yes, I actually do, yeah. Lucky they didn't demolish the building around you once they found out you weren't going to vote Conservative. Paul says, did you see Richie running around with his dog, just like Johnson? You can see the dog wasn't happy to be photographed. Well, just standing next to him, yeah, I can imagine. What always amazes me is that Titchy Suit Size goes out into the country. He comes out of the rising... he comes in low out of the rising sun. I haven't seen that film in a while. I think that's how it goes. We're going to come in low out of the rising sun. And about a mile out, we're going to put the music on. Yeah, so he came in low out of the rising sun. He choppered in and finds a group of people, often in a hospital, who are willing to have their photograph taken with him. That always amazes me. And smiling while they're doing it. What? You believe that? Maybe they're getting prizes. Just stand here next to me for a couple of minutes for a quick photograph. Then there's a $5 in it for you. I have no idea where they find these people. Because if I worked in the NHS and I found out that Titchy Suit Size was coming for a PR visit in order to burnish his reputation, I know what I'd do. I'd get a really big pill and tell him that it can't be taken orally. Paul text, did you see? No, I read that. Barry says, new Conservative slogan after today, stop the votes.
The country's priority is to stop the votes. And at the same time, I think people know that I'm relentlessly
focused on stopping the votes. Yeah, no, people don't know that. And they don't believe it, furthermore. Stuart says, why can't we have a real choice of political parties? It's just vanilla all-round, dull, boring and Stuart. Hey, Stuart, wake up. It's later than you think. Dull. What, do you want entertainment?
Yeah. Wait.
You want to be amused? How about this guy?
The great big greedy nincompoop.
Yeah, how amusing was that while it lasted? You're lucky to have lasted through it, Stuart. Omar says, I was trained to work at a polling station. I know about the reason behind the electoral number. The numbers are there, so mistakes can be traced if mistakes happen. It's also there to stop voter fraud. There's no such thing as voter fraud, Omar. More Tory MPs have been slung out of the House of Commons for sexual shenanigans.
Disgusting.
Than anybody has been successfully convicted of voter fraud. I think you'll find that's right. And even if it's wrong, it doesn't prevent it from being a fact. Simon says, I've heard for weeks now about Reform UK and the people planning to vote for them. On top of the polls in the US favouring Trump, and now Susan Hall is giving Khan a run for his money. Is it me? Is there actually something wrong with these people?
Yes.
Yes, there is. Hey, how did Reform do, by the way?
Oh, fabulous.
Invisibly so. Yeah. How many councils did they win, approximately? To the nearest zero? Yeah, they're going to be the great new force in British politics. Them and Count Binface. Oh, it's just exhausting, isn't it? And the results are in. Sadiq Khan's bid for a third term of London mayor is hanging in the balance today as insiders warn that the election is too close to call. This was the papers this morning. And I don't know why they piled in on this story. Maybe they thought that if they will it, if they actually write it down and cross their fingers and screw their eyes up and hope that it's so, then Sadiq Khan would lose. The votes were in already, and they were writing these stories like he was going to lose. Oh, there's a rumour going round. In fact, the word rumour was trending on X, formerly known as Twitter. And I initially thought that people were talking about the Fleetwood Mac album, Rumours. That's an amazing money-making machine, that album. It's absolutely extraordinary. I subscribe to this... I've become the person that I always thought I wasn't going to be. I've subscribed to a music streaming service. I don't buy my music anymore, I rent it. And they have a chart. And top of the chart is Taylor Swift.
Boring.
Oh, Struth. You know, I've been hearing about Taylor Swift just so very much. I thought, well, I've got absolutely no idea what this person sounds like. So, all right then, as I'm streaming, I don't have to buy it. I can just, dip in and out and see what it's like. Oh, it couldn't have been more dull. I got through one whole track and I thought, oh, it can't all be like this, surely. I mean, this person is making bazillions of dollars. So some of it must be good. And about 20 seconds into the second track, I thought, oh, God, more of this? I can't stand it. Life's too short. So I stopped it immediately. And then went back to listening to the new Beyoncé country album.
Rock and roll!
Which is an excellent thing. But I guess, what's her name? Swift, Taylor Swift. Oh, she's not for me. I'm not a 12-year-old girl. But number 2 on the top streaming albums, and it has been ever since I started streaming with this service for like about 2 years now, is Rumours by Fleetwood Mac. I mean, how old is that album? It must be... Oh, I'm going to do mental arithmetic on the radio.
Oh, no.
So let's say it's the 1980s. So it's like 44 years old. Rumours by Fleetwood Mac. And it's never out of the top 3. Who is listening to that album over and over and over and over and over and over again? Is it Stevie Nicks? Has Stevie Nicks got it on repeat? She's lost the remote. And she can't see because she's got too much gauze over her face. And it's just, it's on heavy rotation over at her place. It's amazing how popular that album is. It's just extraordinary. I mean, in the top 10 was, I think, Dark Side of the Moon, maybe something like that. But Rumours by Fleetwood Mac, if it isn't already, it must be at least in the top 3 biggest selling albums of all time. Excellent work, that band, but I just can't believe that it just keeps going and going and going. I mean, even Dark Side of the Moon isn't trending that high.
Rock and roll!
And that is the best album ever made. And that is a fact, which I am not prepared to discuss. I am the decider. Nige text, the great big greedy nincompoop is one of the most recognisable people in the UK, and I think he should not have needed his passport to vote in the elections. He should have arrived via a zip wire with a stupid hard hat on his head, waving a Union flag in each hand and getting stuck in the doorway as proof of who he really is. I'm still upset with whoever let him down from that zip wire, by the way. If that person had not let him down from that zip wire, he'd still be up there. You understand that, don't you? I want the name of the person. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
I've absolutely no idea whatsoever. P texts, I'm bemused when the faces of Tory ministers when answering questions during TV interviews increase in redness. They resemble a Dulux colour chart. Yeah. All the way up to puce. And Sarah says, Boris thinks he's invincible and can do what he wants. Yeah, that's because he is, and he can. I mean, he's got away with everything so far, by which I mean absolutely everything, including saying that he followed the rules.
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times. I followed the ministerial guidance at all times.
Yes.
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times.
I didn't believe you the first, second or third time. He thinks he's invincible because he is, and he thinks he can do what he wants because he can. I'm just curious, because just before he left office, he was supposed to be broke, wasn't he? He was complaining he didn't have any money. I mean, he couldn't afford his lunch, never mind his curtains. And then the instant he leaves office, he manages to find enough cash to buy a house with a moat for £3.6 million. Where did that come from? Just curious. Did you find it down the back of the sofa when you were trying to find out the locus of the flea problem? Here's a call in Ealing. Hello, Mohammed.
Good evening, Nick. How you doing, mate?
Good,
Pleasure
thanks.
speaking to you as always. I think it's a complete and utter sad day. It's like rest in peace for us in Britain right now. I can't believe what I'm seeing in front of my eyes. With Sadiq Khan being re-elected, Sadiq Khan, I repeat, being re-elected as the Mayor of London, he has single-handedly, with his buddy, Sir Mark Rowley, destroys the capital city, London. And then there is no party, Nick, that appetites us. The mainstream parties in the UK are completely and utterly the same old. I don't want Sir Keir, I don't want Rishi, but I want someone that can bring my country, the UK, back to its greatness.
Which is?
I don't know. An alternative party, for the people, by the people. Right now, Labour, all the Tories are not doing it for the public, and there isn't any other person to vote for. When I was at the ballot box on Thursday, it was either vote for a guy who's destroying the capital city.
Yeah, you said that already. He's destroying the capital city. By what measure is Sadiq Khan destroying the capital city?
He's destroying the pockets of the middle class with the ULIS policy.
That's completely untrue. He's destroying pockets of the middle class with the ULIS thing. I mean, is it the clean air that you're objecting to? Is breathing clean air woke?
No, Nick. Of course, breathing clean air is not work, and it is an important thing for all of us. Yeah. However, it has to be done proportionally. Everything we need to do as individuals, as governments, as in society, has to be proportionate. And
well, what's not proportionate about making the people that are doing the polluting pay?
Okay, fine. Have them pay. That's not a problem.
Right, but it is the problem that you're talking about. You're telling me that it's the problem.
It is the problem, but we need to...
But you just said it wasn't the problem.
But we have to have a balance, Nick.
What does that mean, we have to have a balance? A balance between what and what?
A balance to having clean air and a balance to thinking about our pockets in this crucial cost of living crisis because of the Tories.
Right, so it's not the Labour Party that's at fault, it's the Tory Party that's at fault.
They're both at fault, they're both as bad as each other.
No, they aren't. That's verifiably untrue. They're not both as bad as each other.
Okay, do you trust Sir Keir to be our next Prime Minister, Nick?
Yes.
Of course you don't. By what method?
But what do you mean, trust?
What policies of Sir Keir Starmer, gives you optimistic and hope for the country? Tell me.
What policies? He's not a continuation of the Conservative rule, is what the policies are. Anything else would be a positive.
But for us, anything else may be a positive. However, for us to think that we're going to be, not aspiring to be the best or aspiring to, bring our people up, to take children out of poverty, to give people with disability.
Okay, all right. So I understand all of that, but which would you prefer, the Conservatives or Labour? Because that's your choice. Pick one.
Labour, of course.
All right, there you go. Bingo. Finally, we have a result. Thanks a lot, Mohammed, for whatever that was. Destroying London. I don't think so. I think that London is getting better and better and better. I mean, OK, Boris Johnson allowed a lot of shady developers to throw up hideous tower blocks with executive flatlets inside for millions and millions of pounds that aren't really for Londoners at all. They're for people who are running Malaysian investment funds to buy entire buildings and rent them out to people who are just passing through. That's not for London at all. So that part irks me massively, that we have lost our skyline. I mean, now, you look at London's skyline, we could be anywhere. Particularly if you stand on one of the bridges in central London and you look west. Hideous. And they're putting more and more and more up. So that part annoys me greatly. But other than that, I think London is getting better and better. The air is cleaner. I mean, there's a lot of people biking around. That's great. There's fewer cars. That's excellent. You know, there's no end of excellent things to enjoy in London. If all you're going to do is sit there and complain that, the air is cleaner, then I've got nothing for you. And you have two choices. One's Labour, one's Conservative. There's no point in saying, well, I'm going to sit here and complain my face off because the perfect party for me to vote for does not exist. I haven't got no time for people like that. I just haven't. Live in the real world. Tory or Labour, pick one. P texts, I'm bemused when the faces... No, Dulux colour chart, read that. Kathy says, when a presenter asks a question and the politicians reply, that's a really good question, but then they don't answer the question. It's a classic, says Kathy. These are texts and tweets from last night. Martin says, forget so. This is, what politicians do in order to skirt around answering the question. He says, forget so. It's when they say, look, that they totally change the question asked. Yeah, very, very annoying. I've been very clear about that. John says, the reason for having to show identification at polling stations is, of course, to show or prove who you are. When Boris Johnson showed up at his polling station, every polling station employee knew immediately who he was. Why? Because Boris Johnson is world famous. So by being world famous, Boris Johnson fulfilled the requirement of proving his identity. So turning him away for lack of identification was just silly. However, I agree with you that Boris Johnson probably showed up without ID on purpose because, as they say in America, there's no such thing as bad publicity. Well, you could have had a look-alike. You could have rolled a ball of fat around the clippings on the floor of a barber's and presented that, and people might have thought it was Boris Johnson. No offence. Tony says, Rishi is so clear that he has been clear that the voters have seen right through him. Hopefully he'll soon be even clearer that he has been clear and he'll be invisible. And Michael texts, OK, that's it. I'm off to Arnhem to get thoroughly indebted. Arnhem? I think he probably means inebriated, not indebted. But maybe he was drunk when he wrote it. Booze. And Sean says, if people still vote Tory after 14 years of damage done by the Tories, they must be thick, says Sean. Well, you might think that, Sean. I couldn't possibly comment. They've got loads of these. There's so many. And they're already coming in from tonight. I can't keep up. I am very bad at my job.
Correct.
This text says, what the people really want... Oh, my God, that one freezes my blood. These are things that politicians say that really, really irk you. Yeah, never mind about all of that. What the people really want is to concentrate on stopping the boats.
The country's priority is to stop the boats.
The boats isn't. It just isn't. And Pamela in Alicante says, I can't stand the word robust. Yeah. Ditto. Me either. I can't hear that in normal conversation now without wanting to pull my hair out. Robust. A memo must have gone around Tory circles for them to say the word robust a lot. And the Prime Minister has been very clear and robustly so, all of that. She says, I can't stand the word robust, it drives me mental, says Pamela in Alicante. By the way, the weather here is lovely, says Pamela. Yes, thank you, Pamela, but we don't wish to know that. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nica@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC. It's 10:30. The news headlines with Simon Williams.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
I just want to tell you all how happy I am to be back in the studio, making a picture again.
It's a radio show, dear. Pat texts. These are texts and tweets and such from last night. We mentioned momentarily... Don't freak out. I'm not going to talk about it beyond this. Spiders. Talking about spiders, says Pat. This is not scary because we are not in Australia, unless that is where you are listening from. A friend of mine moved to Queensland and she told me one afternoon she found a spider on the bed. So huge, she had to chuck a trifle bowl over it and pick it up by wiggling a hardback book under it and chucked it out the window. I believe it was one of those huntsman things. As if that's not bad enough, she was hanging out the washing one day and something slid past her feet in the grass. Turned out it was a deadly eastern brown snake. I think I'll stay right here, thank you, says Pat. Yeah, me too. You can take Australia and you can stick it. Huntsman spiders. Yeah, I've seen a picture of one of those. It's like... It's like a sheepdog with 6 legs and 42 eyes. What's scary about that? Why does Australia have such hideous flora and fauna? What's up with that? Let's see now. Maidstone. Hello, Joan.
Hello there. Thank you for helping me achieve the 3rd place on a very, very, very conservative lawn, and it's Langley with the divided bypass and all this sort of stuff. Now, the Tories got in, alas, but I got a very respectable 3rd, 310, with the Greens behind me, 275.
Okay.
Now the Greens behind me, 216.
All right.
And
okay.
Reform.
Hang on a minute. Yes.
Reform. Right down to 200.
Yeah, they did nothing at all. I mean, they make a big noise, but not that popular. Not as popular as they're pretending that they are. So you went as what?
Neighbour. Haven't you been listening to what you've been saying all the time?
No.
It was you putting out stuff. Brilliant.
Right.
They knew all about my, the things that happened. And as I said, I was, if the President Roosevelt could conduct his things from a wheelchair, sure I could do it from my bed. Little old Langley got the people talking.
Right.
Main thing, got all the things across. Now I'm able to talk to the residents. Brilliant. We're dividing them up.
So,
a strong story, and when they say about all of them alike, I am disabled, so I know all about being disabled and what I'm granted.
Yes.
I know everything they can sling and say we're all alike because I'm in that place.
Right. Well, it sounds like a great success there, Joan. Well, I appreciate it, Joan.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for all the good work that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
All right, keep on keeping on. Cheers, my dear.
Yeah, onwards and upwards.
Onwards, exactly right, yes. Where else can we go? Onwards and upwards. Couldn't go any further down than this. Quite right. Good work, Joan. Excellent work. 0345 6060 973. Dave texts, as far as annoying things that politicians say, how about the phrase, a coalition of chaos? Yes. Yes. Yeah. We want the Conservative Party rather than the Labour Party with a coalition of chaos.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah, look what we got. Look what we got.
The great big greedy nincompoop.
Is exactly what we got. Mark says Labour and Conservatives are essentially the same. No, and furthermore... No, they aren't. He said it's a bit like Man United and Man City. They both play football and do most of the same things, but the supporters of those two clubs couldn't be more polarised. It's madness, says Mark. Get your head out of your armpit, Mark. They're not essentially the same. It's an absolutely idiotic thing to say that. They're not wildly different, but then we're a kind of a middling country, so it's not too much of a surprise that they occupy some of the same ground. I mean, what are you after, exactly, Mark? Because they tried being completely different, and look how that worked out. Tristan texts, sick and tired of them saying, I have been crystal clear. Or when they say, let me be clear. both usually either come before or after some gaslighting. Yeah, that's right. Correct, Amundo. Let's see now. Let's have Maidstone. Rob.
Hello, Nick. So, hello from put a blue rosette on a cat country. We've had a really good set of elections.
Maidstone, yeah. Kent. I don't know what's up with Kent, by the way.
Brilliant. Tunbridge Wells now has a Lib Dem.
A Lib Dem.
council.
Wow. The Lib Demers did it.
Yeah, Maidstone, 12 of the 25 Tory councillors lost their seats, including the deputy leader of the Conservative Party on the council. So the Lib Dems and the Greens are going to take over that one.
OK, these are the council results as I have them in the palm of my hand. Yep. Labour, 50 councils, that's up 8. They got 1,140 councillors, that's up 185. The Liberal Democrats did particularly well. They got 12 councils, that's up 2, and 521 councillors, that's up 104.
And of course, for most of the Tories in Kent, they won't go to Labour, but they will go to the Lib Dems. So I'm sure that Tory HQ is having a bit of a wobbly moment this evening.
I can imagine
because
they are.
Even Thurrock went for the Tories in Essex.
The Conservatives are 6 councils, that's minus 10. They have 513 councillors, that's minus 473. Wow.
I'm sorry. I'm having my best night in ages. Bring on the general election.
Yeah, I might actually stay up for it. I normally just go to bed at my normal time, but it might be so utterly delicious that I might actually be persuaded to stay up all night. The Green is, unfortunately, 0 councils, but 181 councillors, that's up 74 on last time.
And they're going to be doing a lot of work with the Labour Party and some of those more marginal ones as well, because they agree on most of the policies.
74 councillors for the Greens. Reform, on the other hand, they also have 0 councils. Guess how many councillors they have? Now, keep in mind that the Greens have 74 councillors, and keep in mind the amount of media attention that the Green Party got as compared to the Reform Party.
Didn't they lose their only councillor this time?
Reform have 2.
What?
2 councillors, not 2 councils, 2 councillors.
And those are the ones who haven't yet been linked to neo-fascists or said something anti-Semitic or Islamophobic.
Well, I think... Yeah. So that took a while. Took a while for the yet to drop. 2 councillors they've got Reform, whereas the Greenies have got 74. And when was the last time you saw anybody from the Green Party on the television? On the
3:30 this afternoon.
TV, on the TV news or on any of those panel shows or political discussion programmes, the Greenies are invisible. Reform, on the other hand, are all over those things like white on rice. And they've got 2 councillors.
It's all pear-shaped nowadays.
Yeah, ain't it just? All right, thanks for the good news, Rob. 0345 6060 973. People are just delirious. They're fit to burst. Mark says, no, I've read that already. It was annoying the first time, and I'm definitely not going to read it again. Labour and the Tories are essentially the same. No. No. Tristan says, sick and tired of them saying crystal clear. I think I've read that one as well. Caroline texts, my 2 sons in their 30s were too busy to vote.
What?
Too busy? How can you be too busy to vote? The polling stations open over 12 hours in the day. Too busy. It's 400 yards maximum from where you're sitting right now. She says, my husband and I have always voted, so it's important, and we have tried to encourage them to vote, but they're just not interested, says Caroline. Caroline, I blame the parents. Just saying. Brian says, Nick, do you think there should be some sort of test to assess if people have enough brain to vote? Yes. He says, if yes, do you think Liz Truss would pass?
Absolutely.
She might pass to vote, but not nothing more serious than that. I mean, we don't want to give her a position of responsibility. Sam Batch, hello, John.
Oh, yeah.
John.
I've only heard one politician today on, forget the Conservatives because they brought it in, on the Labour Party, talk about disenfranchisement of voters by the actions of the Conservative Party.
Yeah.
With the ID card, ID proof.
Yes.
And that was the Labour mayor, which has got very, very little attention on the media.
Well, I don't think that the figures of how many people were turned away because they didn't have ID are available yet. I haven't seen them. I mean, last time around, I think it was something like 14,000 people were turned away. And the key is, if you turn away the right 14,000 people, then you are going to win an election that you were otherwise going to lose. That's the game.
Yeah. Just ask Boris Johnson.
Why? Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Didn't he get kicked off?
He did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that have been marvellous to, start your day at sort of 6:30 in the morning, set out your trestle table and expect that the rest of the day is going to be quite boring, and then you get to kick Boris Johnson out.
And the roads have been in there.
Talk about a bonus.
Yeah, and the roads have been in there and say, no, get in. Get out, don't come back.
Don't come back, exactly right, yeah.
But the number of Conservative politicians on telly, the TV stations, Sky and all that, it's endless. They're virtually trying that they're losing. And the TV presenters are almost crying with them. Oh, there then.
They're crying that they're losing. I wonder why they're losing.
This government...
Yeah, it's probably got something to do with that. Yeah. All right, good work. Thanks, John. 0345 6060 973. Zara says, I planned my day around going to vote, but my polling station of 9 years was suddenly not the correct station and my road wasn't listed. I had to go back 15 minutes in the other direction to vote. I saw many people turned away because they were in the wrong place or no ID. No surprise the turnout was so low, says Zara. Yeah, my place of voting had changed completely to a place I've never been before. Highly suspicious. I mean, it's always been in the same place, and I live... so I have moved, but I'm equidistant to where I used to be compared to, where the polling station was. So I don't see why I should have to travel to, virtually another country to go and place my vote. Highly suspicious. Somebody should look into that. Robert says, but, he starts the sentence with but because of this thinking, we are still stuck with Conservatives that ruin this country. But hey, with Labour, it will be even worse. This is the only reason I'm hearing from Conservative supporters. Yeah, I've heard that a lot too. Oh, well, it's bad now, but it'll be much worse under Labour. as though there's any truth in that. I mean, there isn't any truth in that, because if you were alive 14 years ago, just think how the NHS used to be, the thing that concerns us the most. The thing that concerns us the most is not some bedraggled, damp people arriving on a boat in Kent. Hardly anybody really cares about that. What people really care about is that we have a health service now that's not even good enough to treat you in an emergency. Never mind about something that's just aching or, you've got some oozing, something awful like that, was ruining your life. Get put on a waiting list from now to the end of time. That's what people care about, that you can't get sick in this country anymore. But they can't fix that, or don't want to fix that. So they make you try to concentrate on stopping the boats. Screen in, message coming in from next door. Screen in middle with phone box keeps cutting. Out. So I have to sit here. Don't read this. Too late. Way too late. You have to put the don't read this part at the beginning. Good grief. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Are you trying to be funny? Because I'm all out of laughs.
No, I'm not, but I know a man who is. A person in Harrow called Jonathan. Harrow.
Good evening, Nick.
Yes, Jonathan.
And a new dawn has broken, has it not?
A new dawn?
That was what Blair said in 97.
Yeah, that's right. A whole new dawn. Yeah.
I wanted to touch on three things, but events have superseded me because, I was watching the TV, and in the Birmingham county, the mainstream media did not mention his name at all, Ahmed Yaqub.
Who?
Ahmed Yaqub. Can you and your receptionist do some research on him?
No.
Yeah.
But thanks for asking.
I've been following him on the YouTube for a long time. He's a proper solicitor, although he sounds quite funny. But he was the independent, and he took away a lot of votes from Labour because you say the left fight amongst themselves.
Yes.
But he's very impressive. Have you never heard of him?
What's his name again?
Ahmed Yaqub. He's a very rich solicitor, criminal solicitor. He's got that, no offence, but he's got that funny West Midlands accent that Jet Phillips has, like the fish market accent.
No offence. Yeah, none taken, I'm sure. No, funny accent.
But he's proper solicitor, and he got 70,000 votes.
Wow.
So he's done a lot better than Nigel Farage's disciples.
Yeah, the Reform Party. I think they got 0, or more or less, there or thereabouts.
But also I had to say that we have to say in Walkie-Talkie, London,
yes,
that Sadiq Khan, congratulations to him. Isn't he great? I mean, I hate him, but you have to say he's done...
Yeah, isn't he great? I hate him.
Because did you see his victory speech?
No.
He had that very smug look when the elections were being announced, and then there was that elderly lady Susan behind him looking quite bemused. But
she looked stunned, like she'd been hit in the head with a shovel.
But you have to say that he is great, and he's the best Londoner since Diana. Now look this, and we put him under 4 splints in the Trafalgar Square. But
he's the prince of our hearts.
Can't stand him. Yeah. Look, can I say a couple of things not to be controversial about Rwanda and immigration?
Okay, then.
Because I genuinely was shocked this week when I was at the coffee shop, and and I was actually a bit distressed because there were 3 people on the table next to me, and 2 were elderly Scouse women, and then a man with tattoos showed up. And you know what they were?
What?
They were self-described patriots. And they were talking very loudly about the fact that all of the bleeping immigrants, I don't know if they were directing it to me but they wanted a crowd, they were sort of like directing their invective to the crowd.
Yes.
And they were saying, the Romanians and immigrants and all of this. And then the fellow with the tattoos came up and he said, and I'll quote him directly to you, he said, my missus recently went to the NSH.
The NSH?
Yeah. She went to an NSH hospital, and the doctor...
Yes.
Yeah. And the doctor said to her, you are too big for the MRI scan, love. And then the tattooed guy said, if I was there, I would have bleeping punched him. He said that. That's true.
Right. Yeah, but if she's too big for the bleeping MRI machine, well, there's nothing you can do about that.
And then there was more like anti-immigrant stuff. He said he's a fan of Timmy Robinson and the St. George's Day, blah, blah, blah. And then one of the old Scout women, and they're saying it very loudly so everyone on the street can hear them and sort of argue with them. One of the old Scout women said, she went, why did they make her do an MRI scan? Because I've seen on TikTok that X-rays can do the same job as MRI scans without the harmful rays.
Yeah.
Morons, isn't it? Like idiots.
Well, that's where I get all my medical advice. TikTok.
But do they have the same vote as a Nobel Prize-winning economist or a top neurosurgeon?
Yeah, amazing. That's right. Their vote counts just the same. Hard to believe, but true.
This is a problem. But I got so distressed, I went and had like a hamburger, 2 portion of fries. I was very shocked by it. But can I just say a quick other thing? That I told you I'm bald and balding and obese.
You're balding and obese, right?
Yeah. In fact, the only two people in the general British celebrity world who are less charismatic than me are the number one Keir Starmer, who I did vote for, actually.
Right.
And also his odd economist chancellor woman, Rachel Reeves. If I'm honest. But I voted for him this time.
Right.
But anyway, so I went to a boxing gym, and a little Sri Lankan walkie-talkie rude boy, he beat me up so badly this week.
What?
Hello? No.
Yes.
Yeah. He beat me up in front of, this sort of London rude boy culture that Sadiq Khan has completely exploited to get all the votes and say, I'm your man. And he took a dislike to me and he beat me up. And I don't know if he's British or if he come to this country, but sorry to be controversial, but you know what I thought?
What?
Deport him to Rwanda.
To Rwanda. That's a good idea. Somebody should get that plan going. Somebody should make a scheme of it.
And can I just say one last thing quickly, please?
Yes, quickly.
Mark, very quickly, I'll tell you. I had to get my shed emptied, and this was 4 years ago by a chap who had just come out of prison, and he predicted that if the Rasa invade us, our youngsters are too weak to do anything, and he made 2 or 3 predictions. He said all of the thickos are having all of the kiddies, and he also said that the youth are very weak. But seriously, Nick, if even with Labour, if things don't improve for me, I will leave. I'm serious. I'll leave the country. I will go to Mumbai or something, and if they take my house away, I'll go into sex work. I'm serious.
Well, that's where the money is for balding, overweight guys. Yeah,
I'll do it. I can't tolerate all of this anymore. And the YouTube is saying that the butter is making our youngsters bisexual and feminine. True. Well,
I'm glad you brought that to my attention. Butter, you say? Sadly, Jonathan, that's our time up, but I appreciate the effort. Good man. Butter is making our youth bisexual. I did not know that. This is an educational show, no?
No.
By the way, if you miss any part of this super show, it is available as a podcast on the internet almost as soon as it's finished. We do the Friday and Saturday night shows on the internet. You can listen again, but that's a different thing entirely. And those listen again shows, you can listen to all of our shows on Global Player, but they disappear after about a week. But the podcasts, they stay there forever. Now, the idea is we take the news and the ads out, which means it takes less time to listen to. So you'll use less electricity, and with the money you save, you'll be able to buy an alternative to butter. Have you heard? Ask for it by name. On an internet near you, it's called Nick Abbot, The Whole Show Podcast. If you've got one of them stupid smart speakers, then the magic phrase is play Nick Abbott, The Whole Show Podcast. It's only available on Global Player, and if you haven't got that, then it is free. You can get it from your favourite app store or globalplayer.com. Nick Abbott, The Whole Show Podcast. And that call will be on it. Alexandra texts, I was going to vote Nick, but in the end I couldn't be bothered. There's no one to vote for. They're all the same. Oh, come on. Stop saying that. Pete says, it's not just apathy. What genius thought up Thursday voting? Well, it's just as good as any other day. And Lee says, I think Rishi got to Tees Valley by coach. Apparently there was an empty one with a flat tyre kicking around in London. Well, that is true, yeah. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Hello.
Please hold the line. I'm trying to connect you.
Yes, I am trying to connect. Let me see now. A bloke in Northwich in Cheshire called David. David.
Yes,
Do you think that the result in Blackpool South, with Reform coming very close to the Conservatives, is that enough? Will Reform do a deal with Conservatives now?
I think the Reform have done so abysmally badly in most of the country. It doesn't make never mind whether I mean, it seems like Reform or UKIP, whatever you want to call them, has already performed a reverse takeover of the Conservative Party because they are indistinguishable at this moment.
Yeah, but it's that specific. I mean, the council elections are one thing, but that was a parliamentary seat, wasn't it? And they come very close, didn't they? And I just think that's enough now. I think there'll be some sort of deal done.
Well, it won't really make any difference, and it will turn off as many people as it turns on, as far as the Tories are concerned. I don't think. I mean, they can scheme as much as they like. The end result will be the same.
You don't think that Richard Tice, Nigel Farage, you don't think that they've got vote winning abilities? You don't think it makes any difference?
Well, how many times has Richard Tice, definitely not. And how many times has Nigel Farage tried to become an MP and failed? I mean, last time he tried it, he failed to a guy in a dolphin suit.
So what's left? What's left for the Tories now? Then
a long period of reflection.
What they'll do is they'll use the cut to the benefit system to justify funding the national insurance cut, won't they? And they'll have another budget, won't they, before the election?
Yeah, I think from now until the election,
is that the last throw of the dice?
I think they're beyond throwing dice now. I think what the game will be now is to salt the earth as much as they can, to ruin the country as much as possible, so that the incoming Labour government is going to have absolutely nothing to work with. They're going to be putting out fires for about 5 years, the Labour Party, while the Tories sit back and blame everything that's wrong in the nation on the incoming Labour government. That is the plan.
You definitely don't think there's anything they can do now, then? You're definitely going to say it's definitely a Labour government. There's nothing they can do.
Well, I don't see what my saying it has anything to do with it. What do you think?
I don't know. I think they could still do a deal with Reform.
Yeah.
And they could. They're going to announce the cut to abolishing national insurance. They'll say it's costed. They'll say it's funded to avoid doing a sort of Liz Truss sort of thing. So they'll say it's costed.
Well, saying it's costed is neither here nor there. It's the people who run the financial markets, which are just basically greedy, fearful people. They're just the same as anybody else. They've just got more money. And those are the ones that are going to look at it and think, well, I either do or do not want to put my money in Team GB. And if they think that the economy is going to crash, then they'll take it out. Wait till everything's got a sale sign on it, and then plunge back in again and buy everything up for cheap.
Yeah. Well, that's logical, but nothing has happened over the last 14 years.
That's logical. Yeah, exactly.
Nobody's examining it
forensically, are they? Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, logic has left the building.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, David. 0345 6060 973. These are today's texts now. Hey, we finally got there. Notria texts, where's me general election? John says, Nick, I hear a fleet of planes have been booked for all the failed Tory candidates to take them to Rwanda. Well, I've heard lovely things about Rwanda. It's a totally safe holiday destination. Joanne says, what about Boris Johnson today praising the people who turned him away from voting? That's right, he was testing them, says Joanne. An absolute attention hound, that man is. He just cannot stand anybody else getting any of the limelight. His current predicament must be driving him insane. Tariq text, Nick, thank goodness it's raining. I was really worried that my mud was getting dehydrated. Let's have Tavistock. Hello, Rose.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Rose.
Well, funnily enough, I just wanted to commence on something which slightly relates to that last text, because I'm ever so pleased with myself this evening.
Yeah.
Because I have got on my little Honda motorcycle after months and months, with all the rain that we've had.
Yeah.
I don't really do riding in the rain any longer.
I never pegged you for a biker.
Oh, yes.
Really?
Yes, I've been riding it, my darling, and since 1988.
You're a rebel and you'll never be any good.
But, it's like my the motorcycle mechanic that... something happened to me and my confidence in other things went, and this was one of them. And he said to me, "Oh no," he said, "a seasoned rider such as yourself."
Yeah.
And I treasure those words because I am a seasoned rider, aren't I? 1988 is a hell of a long time ago.
That's right.
And I got on it today because then again you leave it, you see, for this long, and you lose your nerve again.
Yeah, you get fearful.
But the minute I'm on it, Nick, I'm sort of part of it again.
Huh.
I did wait till the evening, and so there's hardly any traffic. There's an awful lot of traffic down here during the day.
Yeah.
And I went for a walk. I went onto the moor and I went for a walk. And I rode back, so I'm very pleased. But I really wanted to say...
hang on a minute. Wait. What? So you went to the moor and you rode back. Well, how did you get there?
I rode there.
Oh, you rode there? Well, it's just the way you said it. You said, I went to the moor for a walk, and then I rode back. You didn't say that you rode there.
Oh, no.
I don't know. I don't know, Rose.
You see, so much...
Your whole story is beginning to fall apart.
Well, thank God I didn't fall apart. It's not the doing of the bike, because that's one thing.
Yeah.
It's the brain, because you think, well, I haven't been facing traffic. I've been getting taxis. So suppose my brain switches off as I approach a roundabout and I don't see the thing coming at me from the right. And
very dangerous, yeah. How many cc's is on your bike there, Rose?
85.
Well,
it's known as a Honda 90.
Right.
I know, don't ask.
Yeah. Well, there's no ring to a Honda 85, is there? Honda 90, that sounds like something. Yeah.
Yeah. But congratulations to Joan. What a marvellous call. So excited. And also Rob in Maidstone.
Mm.
I used to live near there, in a little hamlet called Hucking. The road signs were sometimes amusingly defaced.
Yeah, I bet they were.
That.
Yeah.
And here we go now. Supposing the Tory party completely evaporated, wouldn't it be wonderful?
Oh, it's like a dream come true.
Yeah. Do you think it will?
Will they evaporate? No, I think they'll go to skulk in the shadows and throw bricks at at who is trying to clean up their mess.
Yeah, but you see, this whole voting thing, I do get terribly irritated when people say, I know as you do, they're all the same, or I'm not going to vote, I can't vote for Keir Starmer. I disapprove of an awful lot about Keir Starmer. Mm. It's not about me. It's not just... all I'm doing is putting a cross on a name.
It's small increments.
With the aim of having a certain result, which is, for God's sake, get rid of these people that are in power, this cabal of amorality, before our countries completely evaporate. That's what they're doing. It's a whole process of failed state.
I think that's Iron Maiden's new album, a cabal of... what did you call it?
Amorality.
A cabal of amorality.
Rock and roll!
Yeah, new Iron Maiden album, cabal of amorality.
Yes. I must listen to these albums that you mentioned.
Available
I think
in
Dark Side
vinyl.
Of the Moon is such a beautiful name.
Have you never heard that album?
No, I must have sort of gone off the rock, not gone off, but it's absolutely wonderful, isn't it, according to you and many others?
You're a biker, Rose. What kind of music do you listen to in moments of quiet reflection?
Beethoven, Bach, Schubert, Haydn, Handel.
Right. Sounds like a boy band.
Oh, God. Bach seems to sort me out.
Right, I have no idea what you're talking about right now, but that's classic FM stuff, and I just...
No, not classic FM.
Oh, of
Radio
course it
3.
is. Classic
FM is all...
Shut up, Rose. Remember where you're talking to. Classic FM is relaxing. I love it. But ask me anything about classical music, and I guarantee I will not be able to answer the question. But anyway, thanks a lot, Rose. Cheers, my dear. Simon says, don't all these Labour councillors and the new mayors, etc., know that they will help to take us back to square one with Labour? Don't all these Labour councillors and the new mayors, etc., know that they will help to take us back to square one with Labour? I hope they're satisfied. What about the plan? Where do I go to see Susan Hall now? That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, if you were amused by that whole Susan Hall thing, where do you go to see her now? When's her next engagement? Are tickets available? I'll have 2 down the front, please. There was some stuff about Susan Hall. I haven't got to the end of this story about how the papers turned around from saying that Sadiq Khan was going to get chucked out on his ear this morning. And so many right-wing commentators were saying it. Oh, the rumours going around that, Sadiq Khan is in trouble and Susan Hall is going to be our new mayor. Can you believe that?
No.
No. And then as the day wore on, they completely changed their tune and said, disregard everything I've written on any subject up to this moment. And we know the rest. Supporters of Mr. Khan, this was this morning, supporters of Mr. Khan are worried that he could have been damaged by a wider trend of Muslim voters shunning Labour over Keir Starmer's strong support for Israel. What? As opposed to Fishy Sunak's strong support for Palestine? Khan was one of the first Labour politicians to call for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The row over the expansion of the £12.50 a day ULEZ charge was previously credited with helping the Tories to cling on to the Uxbridge by-election, which they managed to do by lying about who brought in the charge and who insisted that it be rolled out as a precondition of funding Transport for London. They won that Uxbridge by-election on a lie. The person that brought in the charge was Mr. Blobby.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
And the rollout was demanded by the Conservative Party. It's the same tactic as Susan Hall tried to pull when she went on about stopping Sadiq Khan from charging motorists by the mile. He never said that he would. He has no plans to do that. In fact, he ruled it out completely when he was mayor. But the Tories went big on pretending that he was going to charge motorists by the mile, positioning themselves as the party to stop him doing it. And it was all lies, and it gave us a pretty clear indication of what's going to happen in the run-up to the general election, assuming it's not cancelled for our protection. There is a fake news tsunami coming our way, and it's coloured blue. Ain't that right, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
Yeah. So in order to try to engineer a win for the race for London Mayor, the Tories changed the voting rules to their favour, because of course they did. It's what they do. If they can't win, they try and steal the election. Just like Smug will tell you.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
And since Khan won his second term last time, the government changed the voting system to first past the post. So there's no picking up votes as second preferences of the Greens and the Lib Dem supporters. And that's because Khan won the first rounds last time by about 5%. So presumably the Party of Integrity thought with a bit of imaginative lying they might be able to close that 5% gap. Because the Tory candidate was never going to get in by being the second favourite of anyone. I mean, were Green voters going to put Conservative as their second choice?
No.
No, they'd rather start a bonfire of car tyres. So that was this morning, and the Times wrote, Labour is braced for a close result in London's mayoral race as turnout figures appeared to favour the Conservative pick. Susan Hall, who is taking on Sadiq Khan for the Tories, trailed in the polls, but sources in both camps believe she is more likely to unseat the Labour incumbent than many had expected. Insiders believe if turnout across the capital is low, it'll boost her chances. But her campaign has often been gaffe-prone, and even some supportive activists refer to her as Psycho Susan. That's not me saying it. It's her supporters, as reported in the Times newspaper. And that was this morning. And then more subterfuge. The inclusion of Howard Cox, the Reform UK candidate on the ballot paper, could take key votes that would otherwise go to the Tories and help Khan remain, said the paper. Howard Cox, the Reform UK candidate, alleged that he and senior cabinet ministers had contacted Tory candidate Susan Hall and offered to help her oust Khan, suggesting he may have been persuaded not to run. But he said that he never heard back from them. And the Conservative Party dismissed this as absolutely false. So, shall we assume that it's absolutely true?
Absolutely.
And during her campaign, Susan Hall admitted that she didn't know the price of a bus fare, she didn't know the starting salary of a police officer in London, she didn't know who controlled Hammersmith Bridge across the River Thames, or where London is on the map. She also said she didn't like whelks or pie and mash, and maybe it's because she's not a Londoner that she doesn't love old London town. Actually didn't say any of those things. I made that up, but, if she's allowed to make stuff up, why can't I? It also emerged that she had liked posts picturing Enoch Powell with the caption, "It's never too late to get London back," or which referred to Khan as the mayor of Londonistan. She also appeared to support Donald Trump's re-election campaign in 2020.
What?
I mean, I didn't make those things up. She's a Trumper. What do you think of that, Donny?
I love the poorly educated.
And flash forward to this evening, and the too-close-to-call race that could see Susan Hall as London's next mayor fizzled out, to see Sadiq Khan actually increase the vote in his favour and sail through to the third term. And the Mail wrote the headline through tears to read, "The carnage continues." Carnage. Get it? Funny, no?
No.
Sadiq Khan is set for the third term as London Mayor after trouncing his Tory rival, dashing rumours that he could be ousted by a backlash over ULEZ, crime and Gaza. Rumours that were perpetuated, if not started, by the very same paper that was printing that. As though if they just wrote it down in a paper, it would become so. The Labour incumbent defeated Susan Hall by more than 11 percentage points, receiving over 1 million votes to her 800,000 odd. Labour sources have hailed the win, insisting that Khan had done better than anybody could have expected and gained ground on the Conservatives right across London. Right across London. Except not. No, not right across London. I mean, there were the outer zones that seemed so pleased with how everything is going after 14 years of Tory rule that they wanted more of it. Ealing and Hillingdon was very close, but went to Susan Hall. Brent and Harrow was closer. Havering and Redbridge voted 82,000 to 50,000 for Susan Hall. Croydon and Sutton went 78,000 for Susan Hall and 59,000 for Khan. Bexley and Bromley had a collective fit and voted 111,000 for Susan Hall and half that, less than half that, for Sadiq Khan. Over double the number of Tory voters in Bexley and Bromley has voted for Labour. So that's it. I'm striking Bexley and Bromley off my list of holiday destinations. I mean, they've been voting Conservative since the last Ice Age. They emerged from their caves, battled through herds of woolly mammoths, fought off saber-toothed tigers to register their vote for the Conservative Party. It seems like not really a part of London at all. It's more Kent-ish. It's Kent adjacent. Sidcup, Erith, Bexley Heath, Crayford, Welling, Penge, Hayes, West Wickham, Chislehurst, Beckenham, Orpington. Not what I'd call London. I mean, everywhere else it wasn't even close. Sadiq Khan won it in a landslide. And as declarations were made in the 14 electoral areas, it quickly became clear that the Tory hopes of a shock, driven by speculation turnout was down, were wide of the mark. The margin is significantly bigger than the 4.7 points he beat Sean Paley by in the last contest. The widest victory for 2 decades. And they were talking about rumours that Sadiq Khan was going to lose. I mean, I have a theory. Is it because they've used up absolutely everybody else that's prepared to put on a blue rosette and spout learned nonsense to a TV camera as either a minister or the actual Prime Minister as to why they ended up with Susan Hall? What do you think, Liz?
I'm genuinely unclear.
She just doesn't know.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Shut up.
Martin texts, did somebody remember to cancel Rishi's helicopter to the West Midlands? I bet it was on standby. I bet we paid for it anyway. Bath, hello, John.
Hey. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Do you know, it's so difficult to be patient with people who say that they're all the same.
Yes.
And I know it frustrates you. It does me as well. But it's just, I don't get it. Because first of all, ULEZ was a conservative invention, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the lie was told and the seeds took. But what I don't get is when somebody says they're all the same. I mean, I'm not very good on similes or metaphors, but imagine like the Titanic going down. There are two boats in front of you. One of its integrity has been compromised, and the other one is sound. And rather than get in and save yourself, you're saying, well, they're both the same. They look the same to me. I just don't get it. It's like they're not the same. And really, after 14 years of the last, debacle, anything's better than this.
I just think of it. I'll do the parallel lines thing. If they're the same, then they're two sides of a railway line, and you could travel on that railway line for 10 years, and you'd still be equidistant from the other side if they were the same. Right. If they're not the same, even if they're just slightly different by 1 degree, in 10 years they'll be miles apart.
See, apathy is an imposter. It's just they can caveat all this stuff. Really, a lot of the time it's to do with they can't be bothered to go and vote.
Exactly. It's laziness on their part.
Of course it
Yes,
is.
They keep asking me, what do Labour stand for? Just look it up.
I mean, like you say, we had a decent NHS once. We had Sure Start. My wife's a teacher, so I know exactly what's happened to the teaching profession.
Yeah.
My daughter's gone through treatment on the NHS. I know exactly what that's like. But, okay, let's even say, for instance, Nick, that like the Palestine issue is a big issue in Birmingham and whatever it is. But vote for what affects you at home first and then deal with a party that would probably have a better, more sympathetic idea towards that area in the Middle East. I mean, the current one we've got, they're more interested in themselves than they are in anything else.
I don't understand that as an argument, really. I'm going to vote Conservative because of Labour's stance on Gaza. And in what way does it differ from the Conservative Party's stance on Gaza? I mean,
yeah, but that's the point.
It's a completely meaningless and nonsense argument.
But I'll tell you something as well. I did find Jonathan, the idea of him being beaten up in a boxing ring, that was quite hysterical. I spat my tea out. When I heard that, and then also Rose was very lovely as well. I mean, the meandering around the motorcycle stuff was one thing, but her political views were very, very sound.
Yeah.
In terms of Kent, I'll end on this, and don't worry, it's not going to get blue. It put me in mind of the late Bob Monkhouse, and he said, "People know I'm from Kent. I hear them whispering it as I go past."
Okay, thanks, John. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, well, the best line I ever heard from him was the really, really famous one. You probably know the one I'm about to say, but it was like, I used to tell people I was going to be a comedian, but I don't know, I just screwed it up. People used to laugh when that. That's why I am not a trained professional, like he is. People laughed when I said I was going to be a comedian. That one. Simon says, don't all these Labour councillors and new mayors know that they will take us back to square one with... No, read that. Tony says, I have realised why Rishi is pursuing his smoking ban legislation. It's the only decent policy he has, but it's testing if it works so he can apply it to voting. The voting age will raise by 1 year every year until eventually it will be illegal to vote. Stop the votes, says Tony. And Matt says, I'm not sure why Labour are celebrating winning the West Midlands mayoral election. This is all part of Rish's plan. It's what the British people want. It's like somewhat confusing. Not quite sure what that means. I think you better think of that again. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. 11:30 on LBC, the news headlines with Simon Williams.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Oh, hello.
0345 6060 973. Michelle says, why can't we vote on our phones? Then I bet more people would vote. Well, yeah, we must be able to make that happen, surely. But then more people would vote, you see, and the more people vote, then the less likely it is that the Conservative Party will win. That's just true. The more people vote, the less likely it is the Conservative Party will win. Same in America, with the Republican Party, which is why they want to decrease the number of people who can actually go and vote, hence the voter ID thing, and they make it very difficult for people in poor areas to find a polling station that's anywhere near them without a long drive. To the point that in, I think it's New York State, the Lyft, one of those cab companies, are offering free rides to the polling station for people that don't have cars or any other way of getting there. Because in America and many places, if you haven't got a car, there is no public transport. You just won't be able to get there. And the Republicans are very annoyed about this because the more people go, the less likely they are to win. That's just, I think that's just right-wingers everywhere. Christopher says, Rumours is awesome. I have several copies. Why? They're all the same. Why do you need more than one? Curious. Brixton. Hello, Clive.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Clive.
Lovely to talk to you again.
Yes, Clive.
Right. I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. Now that our wonderful Mayor Sadiq Khan has won yet a third unprecedented term in office, I've decided I would like to take up the government on their offer of a free flight to Rwanda, a £3,000 bank card given to me, and 5 years rent-free. Now, my question is this. Do I have to be an illegal to get that, or can anyone get it?
It sounds like a great deal.
It is. You swap this country for a wonderful warm climate.
Yes.
And
it's safer than here, because I've heard that some of our cities are no-go areas.
Exactly. I mean, I was walking through Brixton today.
Yeah.
I was looking everywhere in case somebody was going to attack me. You know?
No luck.
I mean, that's what it's come to in this country now.
Yes. Well, that's Brixton. I mean, as far back as I can remember, Brixton has always been like that. I used to live in Brixton, so I know what I'm talking about.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Whereabouts did you live in Brixton, Nick?
Well, okay, it was on a place called Landor Road, which might not...
I know it very well.
Right,
I know it very well. I've been mugged there once or twice.
It might not... Yes. Yeah, that's it, yeah. It might not technically be Brixton, but it's Clapham North. And when I was living there, the police presence in Brixton itself was very, very large indeed. I think they were reacting to riots or something like that. And all the crime just went up the road to where I was living.
Brixton Police Station has got the notorious history of the only police station in this country that was ever raided by the police from Scotland Yard. Look it up, you'll find that's true.
I most certainly will do nothing of the sort, Clive. I'm just going to take your word for it.
But anyway, what do you think? Would I be eligible to be airlifted free out of this country to Rwanda with a £3,000 bank card and a 5 years rent paid for me in a nice apartment, and then when that's over, I can come back and do it all over again?
So that sounds like such a great deal. I'll meet you on the shore in Calais, and we can push off together. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
All right, Clive, it's a date. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Ollie says, I totally agree on Beyonce's country album. It's a great piece of work. Don't get the Taylor Swift appeal at all. No, I tried to listen to that album. I really did. And I just didn't get it. Didn't seem like there was anything there to me. But, as I said, I'm not a 12-year-old girl. But the Beyonce album, on the other hand, is great. It's the only Beyonce album... I mean, I'm not a Beyonce fan, but I was just curious because it didn't seem to me like she would be any good at country music, which is a genre, hate that word, a genre that that sort of passed me by. Don't really like country music as a genre. But that Beyonce album is just terrific. It's the only Beyonce album I know or have heard. I think the rest of them are all a bit, disco dancing, which is okay, but I wouldn't want to listen to a whole album of it. But I think in trying to take on a different genre, it sort of forced her to think out of the box. There's all sorts of different things on there. You'll love it. Shashaf says, Nick, did you see the candidate for Britain First who got 2,000 votes less than Camp Binface? Did he? No, I didn't see that, no. 2,000 votes less than Camp Binface. He stormed out of the results declaration, shouting and swearing at Sadiq. No, I did not see that, but I'd like to. I think Camp Binface got something like 24,000 votes, didn't he? Well, I'm with him. I think that there should be a maximum price for a croissant, don't you? Somebody should definitely do something about that. And coffee, by the way. How can coffee be £4.50?
What?
£4.50 for water poured through beans? How's that even possible? Let's have a call in Cornwall. Hello, Malcolm.
Oh, hello, yes, Nick.
Malcolm.
Interesting. Sorry, Nick. It was interesting reading all over the internet. It's literally everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Rishi Sunak has proclaimed that all is to play for. And I think the reason for that is because he's lost everything, Nick.
Yeah.
And it is now all to play for.
Yeah. The only way for him is up.
Yeah. 30p Lee says there's going to be a revolution and reform are going to be at the heart of it. Having won 2 council seats.
2, yeah, that's right, 2.
In the whole of Thursday.
Not councils, 2 council seats. 2, yeah.
Yeah. And the Mail have a headline tonight, which is, and this is no reflection on the King, I mean, no disrespect to the King, but the Mail's headline, after all the gloom over the Tories and it being a Tory paper, that there's a fantastic poll published about King Charles. And it's wonderful news about his health and so his progress, which is absolutely true. But that's the Mail headline, not a mention of the actual political storm that occurred on Thursday. So, yeah.
It's hard to... I'm just looking it up right now, just to see... Are you talking about tomorrow's physical paper or online?
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
here it is. Poll shows more than half of Britons think King Charles is doing a good job. But what on earth does that? What on earth does that mean? A good job.
Look at the piece next to it. Yeah, but what does it say next to it, Nick?
With widespread support rising across the political divides. Is that the part you meant?
To it. No. There's a picture of a woman with red hair.
Yeah.
And what does it say about her?
Well, who is she?
She's a Labour lady.
You must be looking at a different website. I'm looking at mine on my phone, so it must be organised differently to what you're looking at. I have no idea.
All right. I saw it on the Sky News. If you go into the Sky News app, then they've got all the newspapers.
Right.
But it's a former neighbour of Angela Rayner saying, "I will go to court to testify that she was a landlady."
Oh, please.
Yeah, and that's the Mail tomorrow. And that for me sums up the Tory. It's over. The game is up. The only person who doesn't know it is, I'm afraid, the man who was in number 10.
Oh, he knows it all right. I mean, he is not a stupid man, even though he keeps saying stupid things. He knows it. He knows the game's up all right, but I don't believe that the game is the same. He isn't playing the same game as we are. His is a completely different game. Ask yourself why a man who's worth £500 million is doing a job that he is so obviously unsuited for and pays peanuts.
Can I take you back 7 years when we used to speak on a late night session? And one of my things was, it dawned on me from day one, and it was that Leave won Brexit. But it was clear to me 7 years ago, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, that Brexit was going to kill the Conservative Party, because Brexit could never be a success because we left the European Union. We were one of 28 nations, which were a big club, which looked after itself and each other, and we had it made. And for me, Nick, 7, 6, 5 years ago, I was saying to you, saying it to Tony Swarbrick, saying to whoever would listen, that this is going to be the end of the Conservative Party, because they are going to continue to say that it is wonderful. Now, the Labour Party, it was obvious that the Labour leader, Mr Corbyn, he wanted Brexit because he and the unions, and some of the unions still want it. The RMT leader still thinks it's a good thing. But they wanted it for different reasons. They thought that they could get away from the European Union controls on unions. That's a small point, Nick, right? But my big point is this. It is clear as the nose on anybody's face. Anybody with a brain cell knew that being out of the European Union, and on it goes, Nick. This is going to be now in perpetuity, that this country is going to get poorer and poorer the longer we're out of the European Union.
Less and less significant as America and China and India become ever more large and powerful, and other countries will group together in trading blocks, and we'll be just Johnny No-Mates, increasingly insignificant island off the coast of Europe.
Yeah. I don't want Starmer to change his wording of where we're heading with the Labour Party, but I believe that the Labour Party will spend that 28 billion every year on green technologies, because they will create jobs and make money for the nation, Nick. They'll take an awful lot of tax for producing green stuff, because at the moment, China and America, look what America is doing. America is almost now the biggest, it is the biggest actual socialist nation in the world, because it is making things and it is making money for America, because Biden has invested billions, hundreds of billions in green technology. Nick, he is literally subsidizing the production of wind turbines and all the rest of it. Yeah?
Well, that doesn't make you a socialist country, though. I mean, lots of countries subsidise some of their biggest industries in order to give them a boost to compete with China that subsidises everything.
Nick, you would say, anybody with an ounce of intelligence would say that if a government sets up an industry and makes the country money, it's a good thing. But the Tories would call that awful and socialist. I wouldn't. I would simply say that it's a nation with the money, the clout.
But they don't do that. Yeah. They don't do that. I mean, we subsidise the fossil fuel industry to a greater extent than they pay money in taxes.
Yes, but that's the point I'm making, Nick. I want Labour to do what Joe Biden is doing, and I want our government to nudge our industries, our entrepreneurs, allegedly so-called. I want our government to push them to do these things. And if it needs be, give them the flipping money to do it. That's what I want, just as Biden is, Nick. That's what I think.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Thanks a lot, Malcolm. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Karen says Camp Binface actually had some good policies. Well, I completely agree, yeah. And, looked rakish in a bin. Lynn says, oh dear, never mind. According to Andrew Mitchell MP, in an interview earlier with Beth Rigby, Andy Street would win or nearly win. I guess he nearly won then, says Lynn, yeah. 0345 6060 973 LBC.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Yeah! Dudes!
Talking about things that politicians say that rub you up the wrong way. James says robust doesn't come anywhere near as irritating as unprecedented. Everything is unprecedented. Like they've just woken up from a coma. Mark says, I hate and groan at the word unprecedented. People who like to think they're hip journalists, it's everywhere. Hip journalists? I just associate it with the Tories excusing their failures during the COVID pandemic. Say it softly in case it returns. COVID pandemic. That everything is unprecedented. Well, the reason why we're an absolute catastrophic mess is because we're going through unprecedented times. As though no other country was going through the exact same thing. Sam says, but have we ever seen Rishi Sunak in the same room as Roland Rat? Winchester. Hello, Simon.
Hello.
Simon.
Hello, Nick. So I've had a few things confirmed to me today.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things, first of all, I've just got a message to all these people, these crybabies that keep bringing in that, can't get perfection. I mean,
yeah.
I want Jesus to float down to earth and shower me with money, but because that isn't being offered from a political party, I'm going to whinge and moan about it. You have two choices, just like you say, Nick. You either vote for this, which will get worse, or you'll vote for something else.
Yeah.
And that is that. There is no ifs or buts.
That's it in a nutshell. You can either vote for what we've got now or something else. Select.
Yeah. And as I've said, and I'll say it again, Starmer, I believe Starmer is going to be the best thing that's ever happened to this country. But anyway.
Well, we'll find out when we get there, I suppose.
We will.
Yeah.
And I've also said I'm quite prepared to admit if I got it wrong. I think that's part of the problem.
You're prepared to leave the country? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'll go to Rwanda maybe. So something was said today and also said tonight that really does highlight to me my theory, and I've had this theory since Brexit, and I've never believed for 1 minute that this is a rabid right-wing lunatic of a country. But because of the way that we've been governed for the last few years, it's all you hear about, which obviously some people jump on that bandwagon. Now, you had a new presenter start today on the station, and she has done a long stint working alongside, she actually said this, done a long stint working alongside broadcasting with Mr. Tice. And she said that he actually believes that he is relevant.
Relevant?
Relevant, and the way. You know what I mean? He actually believes that he is what people want.
He is the way.
It's not just, it's not just, it's not just...
It's not an act. No, he really believes it. He believes in himself. Well, that's sweet.
But I think that also applies to all of these right-wing people.
Yeah. Well, let's just examine those results again, shall we? The Labour Party has 50 councils, the Liberal Democrats have 12, the Conservative Party has 6, and, look, the Reform Party have 0.
Yeah.
Even the Greenies have 181 councillors, the Reform Party have 2. 2!
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that makes it ever so sweet for me. Because if that is the case, and I think it is, and he obviously, has persuaded some people that is the truth, when it does finally all come crashing down around their ears, I want to see a bunch of people, for example, Mr. Sunak, Anderson, Richard Tice, scratching their head in sheer confusion because they don't understand what's happened. And I think that will be so sweet. It will almost make up for
it. Make life worth living again.
Yeah?
Yeah, all right. Well, fingers crossed, Simon. Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. This text says, what's your opinion on the Tories? I think they have done their best under the current circumstances. I'm not sure Labour could do any better. Yeah, okay. You think I'm going to bite on that? No way. Neil says the Tories will be spinning to the point of dizziness and collapse on the airwaves tomorrow. Well, they're going to have to think of some positive to take from this. I don't know what that will be. I mean, the only positive that I can think of from the last couple of days is that they won Tees Valley on 16% of the vote. 16% of the people that could express a preference in Tees Valley actually voted for Houchin. 16%. I mean, that's hardly a ringing endorsement, is it? And he didn't present himself as a Conservative candidate. Not really. Didn't wear the blue rosette. Didn't come out and mention titchy suit size until he descended from the heavens by helicopter. And then it was all kissy-huggy. So I'm not sure that they can find anything positive. But I'm sure they're going to be up all night trying to fathom something, because they will have to present themselves to the TV cameras tomorrow and tell us that the Prime Minister has been very clear that this or that or the other. Oldbury, hello, Ranjit.
Hi, Nick. You're all right, mate?
Yes, good, thanks.
Yeah, lovely Jonathan earlier. I can relate to that, you know, when you're standing somewhere, yeah, and people start shouting, oh, yeah, this is my country, and they want you to hear that kind of conversation, yeah. But obviously the results today in London has proved all those people wrong, yeah, because everybody, you know, you go on about Diane Abbott, she has more hate mail than the whole of Parliament put together, right? And so does Sadiq Khan. I mean, Sadiq Khan actually went to university with a good friend of mine.
Well, it sounds to me like they're upsetting all the right people.
Yeah, they are. You know, these rednecks, yeah? These rednecks don't mean nothing, and that shows now, right, that, you know, from the National Front, it's evolved to reform now. And if you look out through history, their vote has dwindled and dwindled and dwindled. I mean, they had this, I think UKIP had one MP, didn't they, Creswell or something, Carswell, yeah?
Those kind of parties, they've always peaked at about the same number. They've always peaked at about 15%, there or thereabouts. It's like a mountain peak, not a flat-top mountain. It just goes up, and then it goes down, and then they disappear. And then they change their name and become something else. And it goes up to 15%, and then it goes down, and it disappears. It's just another blip.
Yeah, and why is I'm a nutcase for Ives? Why isn't he getting involved in these? He knows these are losers because he's a big loser himself.
Well, right? He's the majority shareholder of the Reform Party company, whatever that's called, Reform PLC or whatever it's called. It's not a political party as much as a company. And I'm sure that he has reflected on his previous successes in trying to be an MP and thought, well, why would I want to put myself through that again?
Yeah, and what he does is give somebody else a loaded gun, yeah? And if he shoots the target, then he's going to take credit for it. It was me, yeah? And can I just quickly talk about Birmingham, right? They're going on about that the Richard Baker just won in Birmingham, yeah? But there was an alternative candidate that was, you know, anti-war. He took a load of votes. If he wasn't there, Andy Street would have been on his Todd, right? He would have had no vote, would have had hardly any votes, and the majority would have been really big. And you know what? Because like Birmingham City Centre, I can see from my house, right?
Can you?
It's a disaster, right?
Well, is it? Birmingham City Centre is a disaster? I'm not sure that's true.
No. What they've done, you know, with this HS2 and everything, if Andy Street had resigned at that time, yeah, you know, and when Rishi Sunak decided to cancel HS2 and spend all that money on Rwanda, he should have stood his ground. But you know what it is? When the gaffer says, mate, listen, I'll give you some sweeties later, just
Sweeties?
come along.
Oh, you had me at Sweeties. I'll get in the van. Hey, Ranjit, I've got to go. Because, you know, look at the time. Sorry about that. 0345 6060 973 LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global. Leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Everything is going extremely well.
Everything is going extremely well. How about that? Deborah texts, I can't stand it when politicians say before answering a question, well, look. Every interviewer should be issued with a really loud klaxon to give them a blast each time they say it. Or how about installing a sort of spring-loaded spike in their seat? Just a thought. Matt says, I took my wife to our A&E department about a year ago. A broken piece of glass had become deeply embedded in her finger. Oh, that's way too much information, Matt. It needed extracting, cleaning and stitches, he says. They told us that they don't have anyone in to deal with those kind of injuries or poisonings on that particular weekday each week. Be careful when you get sick. What? Really? In A&E? Well, there's like a rota of injuries that they're prepared to deal with, depending on what day it is. Good grief. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
0345 6060 973. Let's have Northampton. Hello, Fred.
Hi.
Fred.
Yes, I've been waiting.
Yes, Fred.
So, am I online?
Well, it sounds like you.
Yeah, okay, fine. Okay, listen, I just wanted to say this. I think that it is very wrong for the media to talk badly about Rwanda.
Why is that?
Because Rwanda is an upcoming African country.
Mm-hmm.
It is. They have reformed. They have gone through their doldrums.
Yeah.
They have had a genocide. They have. They don't hate each other anymore. It is clean. It is green, and it is very, very progressive.
Progressive.
Progressive, yes.
In what respect? In what respect is it progressive?
They are not fighting. They come together and they're building their country. What we need, and the media should stop showing Rwanda as a bad place. What we don't want is criminals from whoever comes here. Let and by the way, Rishi should send, if he really wants to win this election. Why doesn't he send them back to India and not Rwanda?
Who them?
The people who come here who have no rights to come here. Let's just say the immigrants that we hear every single day on the news. I'm an African. I'm a very proud African. And by the way, the late great Queen and made me a British citizen.
Right.
So, and I'm the grandson of the Mau Mau. I don't know if you know about the Kenyan history. So I'm telling you, England is a great country. Rwanda is a good country. Stop denigrating Rwanda. And I do not think that England should be sending people to Rwanda as if it's a reward. Don't reward them.
It's a punishment. They're being sent to Rwanda as a punishment, and you're saying that they shouldn't be being sent to as a punishment.
Or Kashmir, whatever they.
Okay. Well, if Rwanda is so great, well, how come they're taking all this money to receive all of these illegals in your?
It's a developing country. Rwanda does not look at England the way you people look at Rwanda. Rwanda looks at England as a progressive country. England is a great country. You know England is a powerful country.
So you would be swapping a great country for an up-and-coming country. That doesn't sound like a step up.
No. What I'm saying is this. The media should stop looking. I think, before choosing Rwanda, they even came to Kenya. Of course, we told them no. But Rwanda is not a punishment.
Well, why are they buying into a scheme that it delivers people there as a punishment?
It's not a punishment.
But it is a punishment. That's exactly what it is.
The British government is very rich. They have given a lot of money. Okay, let me ask you a question. How much money does the British government spend on every illegal immigrant, quote unquote, that comes here waiting for, those pounds? Here, they're nothing. In Rwanda, there's a lot of, it can change, even wherever they come from, they will have never seen that kind of money. I kid you not.
What? Well, yeah,
And
we're
let me
spending
tell you
about £500 million on the Rwanda thing itself, and then another 1.2 billion on
You're
Bibi in
spending it on
Stockholm, and then billion here and a billion there, and the amount of money that this government is throwing away needlessly on pretending to care about the small boat people is just absolutely incredible.
First and foremost, the biggest illegal immigrants that come here do not come through the channel. They come through Heathrow Airport. Okay.
Well, they're not illegal immigrants; they're immigrants. There's like 1.2 million people come with a government visa, and they waft through Heathrow, as much as a person can waft through Heathrow. 1.2 million came last year, and we're obsessing about 200 who are going to get sent to Rwanda because they arrived here damp and bedraggled in a boat.
So what I'm saying is this. First and foremost, okay, I agree with you that the Tories have got it all wrong because they think that, a media storm on these people is going to get them votes. It will not. Okay.
Well, the evidence is in. Yeah, it hasn't done them any favours at all.
I love Rishi. Rishi is a Kenyan.
You love him? What do you love about him?
Yeah, I love him.
You love him?
Oh, he comes from Kenya.
That's not a reason to love someone, where they were born.
Well, we love our one. So it's like the cross of St. George. I love Kenyans. So I love Rishi. But Rishi's made a wrong choice.
Right.
I think the British people right now here in England, they want results. They want problems to be solved. They do not want people coming in. And this immigrant problem is not an immigrant problem. I'm an immigrant.
Yeah, it's interesting that the people who are immigrants often are of the opinion that everybody gets through up till me, and then the drawbridge gets drawn up.
No. Let me tell you something. The reason people come here to England is because British people are good people.
That's not the reason that people come here. British people are just as good as people in Germany and are good in France and Belgium and everywhere else on earth. What are you talking about?
I've got 2 degrees, and I did my degrees in Italy.
That doesn't make you right about this or anything else.
I'm telling you now, England is a good country.
Yeah, it is a good country, but so is Italy and France and Germany, and I'm sure Rwanda has its moments too.
You send them back to Europe. Why do you think they're coming here? Because people in England are good people.
Fred, you're out of your mind. People are coming here for all sorts of reasons, but that British people are good people is not one of them.
That is exactly what I'm telling you.
I know what you're telling me, but I'm telling you you are wrong. You are incorrect about that. People come here, the tiny numbers that actually arrive here who don't get lodged in France and Germany, who take way more people than we do, the people that come here are coming here for specific reasons. Either they know people who are here, or they've been told lies about what kind of reception awaits them, or because they don't speak German or French. They have some kind of connection here that might be the language, but they don't come here because they've heard we're good people. That's just an asinine thing to say, Fred. And Rishi Sunak is not from Kenya; he's from Southampton. But anyway, it's been educational talking to you. Ray texts, Sunak has released a statement saying that the results are disappointing, but that his party's plan is working. Is the plan to be soon a bunch of ex-politicians? If so, good job, Rishi. It's going brilliantly.
We have a plan, or you just go back to square one.
Yeah, let's go back to square one. He keeps promising that we can go back to square one, but we're not there yet. Lindsay says voter turnout could be increased by holding elections on Friday and putting polling stations next door to pubs. Yeah, or in pubs, perhaps. A free pint with each vote cast. I'll vote twice. Let's have Rochester. Lulu.
Nick, hello, darling.
Lulu.
Speak to you.
Oh, I'm hearing every other word, Lulu. Are you speaking to me on a mobile phone by any chance?
Leaning out the window, how's that?
That's better, yeah. You're not on the move, are you?
I have a small ledge outside, so I'm not going to kill myself. It's fine.
Please don't do that.
That last caller.
Yeah. I tell you what, Lulu, it's very hard to understand what you're saying. We're going to call you back, all right?
Hey, all right.
Okay, another satisfied customer. Let's have Stockport. Hello, John.
Nick, seriously, the last caller. If Uganda's such a beautiful place, why don't he go there? What's he doing here?
I have no idea, and I wasn't curious enough to ask.
Right, Nick, right, number one, right, this government, right, has wasted billions and billions of pounds of our hard-earned tax money, right? They've wasted it during COVID, during everything else, right?
Thrown our money around like a drunken sailor.
Right? They might as well, Rishi Sunak and the Tories would have been better off going to a casino, putting the money on the roulette wheel, and spinning it on the roulette wheel. Yeah?
We might as well take our tax money and set fire to it with all the good it's doing us.
And do you know, like, I don't know about short memories or whatever people have, but I tell you what, right, the money they spent, PPE, and then you got Boris Johnson trying to prorogue Parliament, thousands of pounds spent going to the High Court, illegal. You know, then he let the old people, right, without being COVID vaccinated, out of the hospitals. You know, are you telling me that Boris Johnson doesn't have blood on his hands? Right? And then, right, on top of all this, you had, what's his name, in the garden, trying to justify why he drove to the castle. And then you got them having parties and everything.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and at the end of the day...
But apart from that...
All the taxpayers' money, that the billions, HS2, I mean, the list is just endless.
It is.
They went and spent and wasted, right? And then they want to cut people's benefits, right, to give other people a tax cut, attack the poor, attack everybody else, blame everybody else.
But apart from that, John, how are they doing?
Well, the best thing Sunak could do, if Sunak had 1 ounce of moral compass, he would say tomorrow, do you know what? It's an absolute disaster. We failed the country. Yeah. I'm going to call a general election, and I'm sorry for what's happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He should issue his apology.
I am very sorry that I screwed up.
Totally screwed up.
I mean, I am so sorry. You just don't know how sorry I am. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then he could get in a jet plane, and the next time we'd hear from him would be never. Wouldn't that be great? Thanks a lot, John. Keep that anger bubbling away. It will serve you some good in the future, perhaps. It'll remind you to go and vote next time we're allowed to, assuming that we are allowed to vote in a general election and that the next general election is not cancelled for our safety. Ray texts, Sunak has released a statement saying the results are disappointing. And I've read that one. God, I keep reading the same ones over and over. Lindsay says, voter turnout could be... I've read that one. Chris says, when Tishy Suitseyes talks, all I hear now is plan, priority, deliver. I forget, does he work for Domino's Pizza? I'll have one extra crispy, of course. Must be extra crispy. I don't want that sort of doughy kind of pizza that's like blech and all floppy and flobby. That's not a good pizza. I want extra crispy all the way to the middle. That's important. I want salami, meat, perhaps some other sorts of meat too. Mystery meat is fine. I don't really care what kind of meat it is. And I want extra cheese. Appreciate it. And if it's not here within 30 minutes, it's free.
LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Are you trying to tell me that this is your act?
Yeah, sadly, yes. Paul says, I saw Tory Andrew Mitchell say that Andy Street would win or nearly win the West Midlands mayor election. Did he mean by nearly win the election, lose it? If so, the Tories are going to nearly win the next election and nearly form the next government. I might nearly win the lottery, says Paul. Well, if you do nearly win the lottery, Paul, then you can give me 10%. I think that's fair. 10% cut for me. Appreciate it, Paul. Swindon. Hello, Trevor.
Hello, Nick.
Trevor.
Right, well, you and I are born in the same birth month.
Same birth month?
We're both Cancerians.
No, I'm not.
You're 22nd, that's still Cancerian.
No, it isn't.
I just bloody Googled it.
I don't care whether you blooming Googled it, Trevor. I'm telling you, I'm a Leo, not Cancer.
Oh, you're the next one over.
Okay. Right.
Oh,
Astrologically speaking, I am the next one over. Yeah, all right.
You're there in the line. Anyway, you were born in 1960. I was born in 1965, sir. Okay? Mm-hmm. So we grew up with... The one thing I want to say to you, do you remember the Winter of Discontent?
Yes, when the lights went out at 6 o'clock.
I loved it.
Well, what was to love about it?
Didn't have to go to school.
Didn't have to go to school?
Well, the whole country was blacked out, you remember.
No, as far as I recall, the country was on notice that the lights would go out at a certain time in the evening. And I think it was like 6 or 6:30, something like that.
You're right. No, you are right on that one, sir. Yeah, you're right. But the thing is, my dad was in the army, so he had to go to work, right, to pay the mortgage, get everything sorted.
Yeah.
I remember my mum cooking ready bread, which I loved, right, on a gas heater because she had no bloody heating.
Right. But what's that got to do with anything that we're talking about?
Well, the thing is, wishy-washy, wish-wash. And, by the way, you've got some very, very good and very bad sayings. Arrow, arrow. That was very... by the way.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a point coming here somewhere, Trevor. It'll be coming around the corner any time now, I'm sure. Go ahead.
All right, okay. So, if you were going to be the Prime Minister tomorrow, what would you do?
If I was going to be the Prime Minister tomorrow, what would I do? You're starting with the easy questions. Trevor, what was it that you called to say?
Right, have you been... you spoke earlier on about bits and pieces. Have you ever been to Speaker's Corner?
Yes.
Did you enjoy it?
No.
Why not?
It was cold. Nobody there was saying anything that I was remotely interested in. It seemed like a bunch of weirdos and cranks, and just hanging around Hyde Park at that time of day. It's way too early in the day for me. I mean, it's all over by about midday.
11 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. Well, 11 o'clock there, but I don't sleep. I don't sleep there, do I? It takes me ages to get up and get all the way over there. It's just too early.
Yeah, but it's the best Sunday in the world. All the things that are going on in the world, Nick, right?
They get solved by the people on a stepladder in Hyde Park Corner, yeah.
We've all been there. It's funny, though. I just take the mickey out of those people, right? But the thing is, there's two rules at the park. No swearing, no aggression. And do you know who set that up?
Tell me.
Queen Victoria.
Did she? Did she?
No, I got a history degree. It was Queen Victoria. It's her back garden, isn't it? Right?
Not really, no. She used to have quite a substantial... Well, she had many substantial back gardens. Hyde Park not being one of them.
Let's give that a half and half, right? Every Sunday, Queen
Victoria used to go down there, stand on a stepladder and give it loads. Yeah, I get it.
No, she's being a silly sausage. But, okay, right, let's finish this off on a joke, shall we?
Finish it on what?
On a nice joke, because...
A joke? Oh.
Yeah, we'll do it. And I've enjoyed it. Listen.
Oh, I'm afraid we're fresh out of time there, Trevor. Unfortunately, we can't hear that joke. Isn't life awful? But I appreciate the effort. Sue says, do you think that Rishi Sunak has good advisors he chooses to ignore, or bad advisors that he listens to? I don't know, but I think he should fire absolutely everybody around him right now. Because either the good advisors that he is ignoring aren't shouting loudly enough, or the bad advisors that he is listening to are shouting the wrong things. But either way, just stop listening to them, Rishi Sunak. They're not doing you any good at all. In fact, they may be working for the other side. Chris says, with consideration to the local election defeats for the Tories, are the Tories at risk of becoming as irrelevant as Nick Clegg? Nick Clegg is doing just fine. Weirdly. I don't really get that whole Nick Clegg thing myself, but, you know. Cowbridge, Chris.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
Thanks for reading out my Nick Clegg text.
Oh, was that you? Right.
Yeah, it was.
That's coincidental, isn't it?
And my Domino pizza, thank you very much. Yeah.
Still not arrived, by the way. Still not arrived.
No, well, it's because I didn't have a very good plan. The reason for my call, you had a rather exuberant caller telling you the virtues of Rwanda a few moments ago.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason what prompted me to call you is he said, and I quote, "There's no fighting in Rwanda." He's absolutely correct. There is no fighting in Rwanda. What he neglected to mention is
just over the
Rwanda
border
is fighting in Congo, and they're using the British government's money to fund that conflict.
Right. That sounds like the British government that sounds like precisely the sort of thing that the government would spend our money on.
Well, you may think that I couldn't possibly comment. So I wanted to try just to say, I don't know what night nurse he's been drinking, but he should really lay off. So I wanted to finish off with a quick riddle for you.
Oh.
So, no, it's fine. So I wanted to ask you, how long would I be in a job if I told my boss every day that I had a plan and which was working, and that my priorities were his priorities?
Yes. That's an excellent question, Chris. About 10 seconds or less.
Well, I can tell you it's not going to be 2 years.
No, exactly right. All right, thanks a lot, Chris. So, asylum seekers who have been detained under fishy Sunak's deportation policy are going to get a benefit. Have you heard? They're going to get a colourful promotional document. Imagine. The colourful promotional document is entitled, "I'm being relocated to Rwanda. What does it mean to me?" Well, it means that you're caught up in somebody else's attempt to stay in the room where the money is what that means. It's a 17-page Home Office booklet and promises detainees will be flown to the land of 1,000 hills. They actually put it like that. The land of 1,000 hills that has a wide variety of wildlife, some of which can eat you. Alongside a display of photos of lush valleys in Kigali's financial district and Hope Hostel, the accommodation reserved for asylum seekers from the UK. Is that the one that's been sold to the locals in Rwanda? I think it probably is. The accommodation reserved is Hope Hospital. The text of the booklet asks the question, is Rwanda safe? And it answers that question helpfully. It says Rwanda is generally safe and secure country with a track record of supporting asylum seekers. There's no mention of the incident when Congolese refugees were killed in clashes with Rwandan security forces. But relax, everybody, it's just a little like death. Death never hurt anyone. The document says, if you feel that Rwanda is not safe for you personally, you must notify us immediately in writing and explain why. Write your concern on a piece of paper, then simply screw it up and throw it away. We'll look at it later. There's no mention of the UK Supreme Court ruling in November that found that there were substantial grounds for believing asylum seekers sent to Rwanda faced a real risk of having their claims wrongly assessed or being returned to their country of origin to face the persecution that they were fleeing in the first place. But, you know, what's a little light persecution among friends? And despite promises of a warm welcome and protection by the Rwandan government, a Home Office disclaimer in the document says, and I quote, "This information is provided as a general guide and may be subject to change at any time with little or no notice. Your safety is not guaranteed, or any concern of His Majesty's government. You are being used as a political pawn. We don't care about you unless you happen to be a millionaire and decide to become a donor to the Conservative Party, in which case please disregard this pamphlet. It's all been a terrible mistake and we'll see you for drinks. Shall we say 6 o'clock?
Booze.
The charity Asylum Aid is launching legal action against the Home Office over this Rwanda policy. Asylum Aid says it's concerned that the policy could lead to the Home Office unlawfully preventing people seeking asylum from entering the asylum system, and that the alleged inconsistency could lead to the Home Office refusing to consider evidence or individual risk. The charity's executive director said, "The government has made it clear that it's determined to act quickly, as we have already seen the Home Office carrying out forcible detentions. The panic this causes is made worse by the limited capacity to provide high-quality legal representation in the legal aid and charity sector. We brought forward this legal action to ensure that the Home Office properly considers any individual cases against the removal to Rwanda." The lefty wokerati strikes again. No! But I suspect that that's exactly what the government wants. Having a constant battle is not a failure of the plan, it is the plan. I mean, if the Rwanda scheme went ahead and it stopped all the boats, then what? We'd still have 1 million people coming here. There was 1.2 million last year, legally. So we'd send 300 people to Rwanda, accept 1 million people coming through the airport with a government-issued visa to waiver immigration. And so what will the government do to kid on like it still cares about any of this, if they get to send people to Rwanda? What battle will they be able to conjure up to make it appear as though they're trying to keep Britain British? You know, to appeal to the knuckle-dragging community. If their little scheme works, then they'll send 300 of the 1.2 million people that come here to Rwanda, and then they'll really be stuffed, because their fans won't notice the difference. They have to keep the phony battle against the enemy of the people lawyers going, because claiming victimhood is the only thing that governments have got at this point. A Home Office spokesmodel said, as the Prime Minister has set out, they didn't use the phrase, has been very clear that, we will get flights off the ground to Rwanda in the next 9 to 11 weeks. Well, you know, we've had years of this stop the boats talk now. The whole country knows the stated aim. We are very familiar with the arguments and the promises. And how did that work out for the Tories at the last elections?
Oh, fabulous.
Hey, Fishy, what else have you got? 0345 6060 973. Oh, blimey, look at the time. Just past 12:30 on LBC. The news headlines with Simon Williams.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
What in places goes on inside that head of yours?
Not very much, come to find out. Actually, not much at all. I'm kind of like one of those cats that sit in the corner of the room and just stares at the wall for 3 hours. No thoughts flitting across this brow, I can assure you of that. Betty says Andrew Mitchell MP was asked how he thought the race for mayor would turn out, and his answer was he won or nearly wins. In my book, if you nearly win, you lose. Well, that's true, Betty. Yeah, my book too. Let's have East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. Yeah. Over the last year or so, when there's been polling about voter intentions has been announced, you express amazement that 20-odd% of people are still saying that they're going to vote Conservative.
Yes.
Right. Now, there was a poll out, YouGov did a poll, which was on people's attitudes to people living on benefits. And the first question was, should people living on benefits be able to afford their utilities, electricity, gas and water? 76% said yes.
Yeah.
But that leaves almost a quarter of the population who don't think that.
Yes.
And I bet there's one hell of a crossover between
100%, yeah.
Between that 24% and people voting Conservative or Reform.
And to be clear, those people who said no, that those on benefits should not be able to afford, you know, the basic necessities of life, they assume that amount of bad luck will not happen to them because they are unique and special people.
Yeah, I quite agree, and it can't have happened to their friends or relatives. They must be very special to be in that situation. But and on a similar sort of note, please leave Deform UK alone, because come the next election, they are our useful idiots. They will take scores of seats away from the Conservative Party.
I bet they don't. What, by which you mean win them, or just leave the gate open for Labour to waltz through?
leave the gate open for Labour, and in the Tory shires, leave the gate open for the Liberals to walk through.
I would encourage Reform to be just as busy as they can from now until the general election. They have my full support.
As they do mine, yeah. Up to about 20%. That'll do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, it's about time the right wing had a taste of the medicine that the left wing keep dishing to themselves by splitting the left wing vote, allowing the Tories to waltz in to lead with 100% of the power with less than 50% of the votes.
Our system is insane, but
terrible.
If that's what we're working with at the next election,
right?
Let's use all the tools we've got.
Exactly right. Yeah. Onwards and upwards. All right. Thanks a lot, Mike. 0345 6060 973. I heard the word tools, and David Cameron's ears cropped up.
I think this is nonsense.
Yeah, that's from when he was living in the shed. You know where they keep them. Greg says, the worst saying in politics has to be with hindsight. What a great excuse. And Paul says, how come every time Labour win, it's never because of Sir Keir? How is he worse than any PM in the last 50 years? I don't know. But to some people, he seems to have found a way. How many more of these messages? Oh, I'm almost getting to the end there. Almost. If I work really diligently and hard, I might actually succeed in this job this evening. Can you believe that?
No.
Michael says, the word I want removed from the lips of all MPs is deliver, says Michael. Michael has been very clear about that. Let's have Ilford, Shab.
Hi, Nick.
Shab.
Yeah, no, just, that guy, Sunak, amazes me, more and more. I watch him. He just lost, he just lost the election, local council election, whatever you want to call them. And he won one, and he was like jumping like a dancing monkey. Mm-hmm. It's like he won the battle. It's amazing me.
He was grinning from ear to ear.
Yeah, I don't know whether they think people, he's fooling people, but I think it suits Labour to have a nincompoop leader as a Tory leader.
Another one.
The great big greedy nincompoop.
How many nincompoops can we stand?
But this nincompoop, he's having a kamikaze attack, to the country, and he's doing him no good.
Well, it doesn't seem to be doing the Conservative Party any good. No, maybe he's a Labour in disguise.
I think he's the enemy within. Right. I think he reminds me of those rats, He's one of those who's sinking, the sinking ship.
He's digging
holes.
Right, okay.
And he's digging more holes to sink quickly, so...
Yeah, he's going to be taken off from that sinking ship in a helicopter all of his own, which we, by the way, will be paying for. I bet we pay for his helicopter to his private jet that we will also be paying for, that is going to spirit him to California, where he'll eke out the rest of his time counting how much money he's got.
Oh, go to a corner shop. Back to his grocery shop.
Why, if the grocery shop's Harrods, then yes. Otherwise, no. Mind you, Fortnum's is on a corner, so maybe that. Thanks a lot, Shab. 0345 6060 973. Andy says the Tories put up Susan Hall as they had no desire to win London mayor, as they prefer to have a Labour mayor to blame for everything. If they had a successful candidate, they wouldn't have a whipping boy, says Andy. Well, that's an interesting theory. They wanted to lose. That does answer a lot of questions that we have. And Ian says, with all the news of the May elections in England, the recent political chaos here in Scotland seems to go unnoticed as the SNP goes into self-destruct mode after Humza Useless left. That's right. Yeah, all other considerations have become secondary. That's right. And Mike says, hearing unconfirmed reports that a helicopter has been spotted landing in Birmingham and then immediately taking off again, heading back to London. Yeah, I wouldn't be remotely surprised. I bet Tichy is somewhat deflated that he could he only could do the one round of glad handing, bathe in somebody else's spotlight for a while. Oh, look, we found one, a success. 16% of the vote Houchin got, 16 of the electorate. 1-6. If that's a ringing endorsement, I'm a Knickerbocker Glory with cream on top. John says, how much is reasonable for a cup of coffee? Well, that's a good question. How much is reasonable for a cup of coffee? Because I was recently charged £4.50. £4.50. It's just water through beans. How could it possibly be that much? And this wasn't in a hotel. This was just in a coffee shop. £4.50 is too much. At least we can agree on that. I would say I'd got used to £3.50, but even that seems a bit much, really, when you think about it. I mean, it's just a tiny bit of milk, a little bit of coffee, beans, water poured through. How is that £3.50? £2.99. That sounds more reasonable. But £2.99 is £3. They're just kidding you about the penny. How about £1.99? Sounds good. 6p. I'll give you a 6p, and that's my final offer. Ilford. No, I think I've just... have I just spoken to you, Shab?
Yes, you did, yeah.
I did, OK. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Twice. Let's have Isaac Heston. Heston.
Hello, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Isaac here of Heston.
I know.
Right. Yeah. I just laid in bed now.
Yeah.
That's right. I just laid in bed now, sort of, until the end of the show. Anyway.
I think that's way too much information there, Isaac. You're lying in bed reiterating.
Dreadful.
Awful.
Sorry about that. Two things, right? Your call earlier on, John, the angry guy, right? Okay.
Which one? What was he angry about?
He was angry about all the government waste, the PPE and all that, and all the billions. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay, and they have the nerve to target people on benefits.
Yes.
When they waste all these billions. All the billions.
Billions and billions and billions. Yes.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Could put this country right. Could reduce the cost of living, fund the National Health Service.
Yeah, it could be sweets and comics for everyone.
That's right. Yeah, level up the country, the north, the southwest. Wales, Scotland. And John, and I have to endorse and second what John said. Absolutely fantastic. Well done, John, because he has said what I wanted to say a couple of weeks ago. So well done, John, that man.
Right.
Next point is right. The book of the quotes which politicians use, right? Now, as I'm an aspiring writer, I'm thinking about writing a love story or an erotic love story based on political quotes.
An erotic love story based on political quotes. That sounds terrible.
Yeah. Oh no. That. I mean. I've got a title. It could be called The Robust Politician.
It sounds suspiciously like a listener with material to me.
Oh no.
The Robust Politician. Any thoughts, Liz?
Absolutely.
She's on board. Thanks a lot, Isaac. 0345 6060 973. Pete says a klaxon is needed for I've been very clear on this, and what we've said is... These are annoying phrases that politicians come out with. Andrew says people voted for Ben Houchen rather than the Tory party. He'd have got more votes if he'd stood as an independent. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, he won on, and I'm going to keep saying this, 16% of the electorate voted for Ben Houchen. 16. How is that possible? That it's being touted as a great success. I'd be embarrassed. Tina says, whenever I've heard the lettuce lady Truss utter the words bold, robust and clear, I always think of the back of posh roast coffee packet. Robust aroma, bold flavours, grown in the clear air. I'm sure she or her minions came up with them at some very expensive brainstorming session over a cup of coffee. Robust. Bold and clear. I think Tina has cracked it. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Come on, we're running late.
We are running late. Let's have Rochester. Lulu.
Oh, thank the Lord.
Lulu.
I've been to Hellenbach trying to speak to you tonight, Nick. I was hanging out the window.
Oh, it's you, right.
It's me.
The window lady.
I'm now on the landline, but I had to disguise the fact that I had a private number, and all that jazz.
You have a private number?
Well, it's a business number, so,
Oh, business.
Disgusting.
I see.
Not that sort of business. So, Nick, I feel good today. I've been out all day. I've been to a party. It was lovely. And I came home, and Sadiq's got the mayoral election. I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
The racist Nan is consigned to history. It's wonderful. And I just feel really good. But anyway, I wanted to say to you, did you see yesterday on the news when Sunak went to Houchin's, photo opportunity?
Yeah, little shindig.
And he was, I could almost feel sorry for him until I remember what a creep he is. But, he was chasing after him like a small child to try and get some reflected glory from this bloke who didn't even say he was a Conservative candidate, didn't have a rosette or anything like that.
No, but he was wearing blue socks. That's what I heard.
Yeah, well, So he says. But honestly, did you not feel... I mean, this is the supposed leader of this country. What a pathetic little worm. I honestly, I was shocked by it.
Lulu, you really must express yourself more clearly. A pathetic little worm, you say?
Oh, he's just egregious, isn't he?
Just don't keep holding back, Lulu. You want to let it out.
Look, I've had 14 years of this stuff. I can't bear it any longer.
You can't stand it anymore. You had it up to here.
I've had it right up to here. Mm-hmm. Absolutely right. So, he needs to call an election. He knows he's done. I mean, unless he's a complete halfwit, which, well, maybe it could be, but he must know he's done.
Well, I keep asking the question, why is he doing this job? Why is he doing this job? He is uniquely unsuited to do this job. Either he just can't stand the loss of face from losing a position in ignominy, and he wants to, he sort of fantasizes about pulling success from the jaws of defeat. Yeah. Or there are other reasons for doing this job. Why would a billionaire do a job? What's that?
Oh, I think I've got a message.
You got a message coming in?
Yeah, it's just some ridiculous thing.
Your phone just went spangles.
Yeah. But no, you're right, and I've asked myself that question too. I mean, he's got more money than God, so why would he need to have, accumulate more money?
Yeah.
But I feel he just wants to impress his father-in-law because he's a small man in every sense of the word, and I feel that he's just trying to impress his father-in-law, and we have to all suffer in the meanwhile.
Right. Okay. Well, just fingers crossed and hope for the best, and maybe maybe the suffering won't be too much and last too long. All right.
Oh, but Nick, do you know what?
Yeah.
I've got a holiday in November. I'm going to India for 2 weeks, and if they call that, see, I've got a plan. I've got an election night plan. I'm having a party at my place, and we're having a drinking game.
Yeah.
We're drinking Carver for every Tory that loses their seat.
Right.
And it's a Tory that we just hate. But if it's a Tory that we really, really hate, we're having champagne.
Well, I would start with very, very small glasses if I were you, Lulu. I'd be drinking them through thimbles. Otherwise, you're going to end up in A&E. They're going to be pumping your stomach. Lulu, I've got to go, but thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Let's see if I can squeeze Dublin. Hello, Shane.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
The one political quote that always boils my blood is lessons will be learned.
Oh.
All the time, over COVID, even in Ireland, lessons will be learned.
Lessons.
Now, they know we don't know what the result of the learning has been, but it's good to know that they will eventually listen. Maybe when they have to look at the eyes of defeat and go, oh, well, we actually didn't learn the lesson.
It is painful. There's so many of them. I mean, only since I've started taking suggestions about the phrases that politicians use that just rub your fur up the wrong way, did I realise that there are so many of them. I can't believe that one is pretty much the last one that we're going to get. And it hadn't been mentioned up to this point. Lessons must be learned.
You wonder who creates these. Do they not listen to the public, or is it just their own dictionary? I don't know. I mean, I would be embarrassed to have to go out and just repeat this stuff as they are instructed to do. And it's not a coincidence that they all say the same thing over and over again, because they're being told to do that. Or is it that they still conduct lobotomies on people?
Well, that may be also true, but I don't think it has any bearing on what we're talking about. No, I think they willingly go out and just to say this stuff. I guess it obviates the need to actually learn anything about the subject that they're speaking of. If you can just say the same old stock phrases over and over again, then why learn anything? Thanks, Shane. Plymouth, Mark.
Oh, hi, yeah. Yeah, I was just surprised that the Conservatives got as many seats as they did. I mean, the second was like a Westminster whack-a-mole, wasn't it? It was a good day, but I'm still surprised that they got that many.
Well, in the Kent-ish area of London, the Tory candidate for London Mayor, Susan Hall, got over twice as many votes as Sadiq Khan. Double.
Well, it's just bizarre. Maybe there's something in the water there.
Explain that to me, I double dare you. What is going on in Kent, for crying out loud? Maybe there is something in the water. Somebody, I mean, in this country, you wouldn't be remotely surprised, would you? I mean, you wouldn't want to get any of that water on your shoes for a start.
Well, that's true, yeah. There must be something going on there, unless they've promised them something. I don't know, maybe they've gone door to door and said that, we're going to give you some cash if you vote for us or something.
It's mystifying, because in the rest of London, either Sadiq Khan won easily, or Susan Hall in the sort of the outer boroughs. Susan Hall won by a small margin, but in the Kent area, the southeast of London, she won by such a staggeringly large amount that I suspect that the people of that area never actually met or saw Susan Hall, because how would you come to the conclusion to vote for her by such a huge margin?
Maybe the ozone layer is a bit thinner over that area.
Yeah. Well, somebody should definitely look into that, because I think we've got a serious medical problem going on down there that somebody needs to do something about. Lessons should be learned about that, that's for sure. All right. Thanks a lot, Mark. James says, I get a dentist appointment to see my doctor. I'm British and I'm 60 years old, yet if I'm an asylum seeker, I get both for free. How can this be fair? And James has spelt fair wrong. You lose, James. You fail this test.
Jack says, why does nobody hold the Tories to account? I'm just annoyed that they get away with it. We get away with the lying every week. Nobody holds them to account. Yeah, and the thing that irks me is I don't believe anybody will. Everything that they've done up to this point, they're going to get away with. All of it. I don't think that there's any desire on the part of the Labour Party to actually look into any of their shenanigans. I just don't think they're going to do it. It's almost like an unspoken agreement between opposing sides. We won't look into what you've been getting away with while you've been in power, as long as you don't look into what we get away with when we're in power. It's excruciating. This one says, I will tell you what the good and kind people of This one says, I will tell you what the good and kind people in England are. Sick of spongers. We're an overpopulated island and no longer part of Europe, and there is no more room. So get on a plane to come through customs if you want my sympathy. Sorry, we are closed. Fed up and no more charity. It begins at home, says that texter, who doesn't sound very charitable. Not to my ears, no. By contrast, Rob says, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. That's the only thing that there's just too little of.
Rock and roll!
And finally, Jerry says, the funniest thing to see in the whole mayoral election result was the returning officer who has to say the candidate's surname first, followed by their first name, and hearing her say, bin face, count. Was comedy gold. Oh, I wish I'd seen that. Thanks, Jerry. Thanks for taking part and playing along. If you missed any of today's show, you can listen back on Catch Up on Global Player. And let me remind you that the Friday and Saturday night shows get put up the internet as podcasts. That's how you should listen to them. If you've got a stupid smart speaker, say, the magic phrase is, play Nick Abbot the Whole Show podcast. We take the news and the ads out. It takes less time to listen to. You'll use less electricity and do your bits to protect the environment. Ask for it by name on an internet near you. It's only on Global Player, and it's called Nick Abbot the Whole Show podcast. If you have Global Player, that's great. If you don't, it's free. You can get it from your App Store or globalplayer.com. And with it, you can pause and rewind live radio. It's like a magic trick, 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 a magic trick.